Generation of Swine, full-time Scrambling. The TV business is uglier than most things. It is normally perceived as some kind of cruel and shallow money trench through the heart of the journalism industry. A long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs for no good reason. Which is more or less true. For the most part, they are dirty little animals with huge brains and no pulse. Every once in a while, they will toss up a human bone like Ed Bradley, or Edwin Newman, or Hughes Rudd. And there are others, no doubt, like Studs Terkel in Chicago, and the twisted Reverend Gene Scott, who works like a sleepless ferret in the maniac bowels of Southern California. But these are only the exceptions that prove the hideous rule. Mainly, we are dealing with a profoundly degenerate world, a living web of foulness, greed, and treachery, which is also the biggest real business around and impossible to ignore. You can't get away from TV. It is everywhere. The hog is in the tunnel. I was reminded of all these things once again when I finally limped back home after 15 days in the eerie confines of an airless cubicle in a high-rise on Market Street to find the TV business working overtime in my front yard. It was 9 o'clock at night with a full moon when we came up to the driveway in a weird John's cab from the airport, and I felt the chill of winter. Daylight savings time was over. The football season was half gone, and there was frost on all the windshields. The Jeep and the Volvo were almost hidden in a maze of frozen weeds, and a big blue peacock was squatting nervously on the trunk of the Bavaria. There was no sign of the Range Rover, which meant that Jay had probably gone off to Texas with the Nazis. Years ago, I made the decision to keep the whole place looking like an abandoned sawmill, which has worked out well for the trapping and disciplining of trespassers, but it is not a natural context for massive high-tech machinery. So it was a serious shock to see the dish, a huge white saucer that seemed suspended in midair and tilted up at the moon like a NASA receptor on Mars. It was the tallest thing on the ranch, a 16-foot electric white bird-view dish antenna, perched on a jagged grassy knoll about 100 yards back from the main house and blocking my view of the mule pasture. Motorcycle tracks led back through the snow in the direction of the cistern, then veered off sharply toward the raw mud and concrete base of the new installation, which was in fact the full-bore, all-channels 19 satellite Earth station that I ordered from the electric people before I went to San Francisco. I am, after all, the media critic, and TV falls into that category. So I thought I should have all the channels, including Spanish Reuters and the morning news from Bermuda, which is as far across the Earth's curvature as our commercial satellites can see. This had been my problem all along. I was living too far up in the Rockies with atavistic technology. The local cable company had refused to even talk about running a line up Woody Creek as a special favor, they said, for me or anyone else. My two closest neighbors are Don Henley, the musician, and ABC sportscaster Bob Beattie. And we have our own professional reasons for needing total TV at all times, and especially on weekends before the games. But the cable company said no. Never, the man told Beattie. You people are too far away, and there's not enough of you. We need 100 hookups for every 2 miles of line. You only have 7. Forget it. You will never qualify. Which was true. The cable had passed us by. The dish was the only hope. And eventually, we were all forced to turn to it. By the summer of '85, the valley had more satellite dishes per capita than an Eskimo village on the north slope of Alaska. Mine was one of the last to go in. I had been nervous from the start about the hazards of too much input, which is a very real problem with these things. Watching TV becomes a full-time job when you can scan 200 channels all day and all night and still have the option of punching night dreams into the video machine if the rest of the world seems dull. This was the situation I found at my house when I got back from San Francisco. My friend Cromwell had installed a whole galaxy of wires and motors and screens and stainless steel TVRO with red lights and green lights and baffling digital readouts to compute things like spatial polarity and the uplink angle from London. I had all the latest equipment to watch any channel I wanted. Not quite, said Cromwell, when he stopped by later that night to drink whiskey and give me his bill. There's one more thing, the D-Scrambler. It's going to run you about $500, plus at least $100 a month for the rest of your life. That's ridiculous, I said. How can they charge me for signals I pick up out of the sky with all this fantastic new equipment? It's easy, he said. They will scramble their signals beginning on January 15th or next year, and you will need a special decoding machine to see anything that matters. The channels will cost you $12.95 a month each, and you will naturally want at least 10 or maybe 30 or 40 for a man with a job like yours. What are you saying? I screamed at him. That all this overpriced junk that you've installed in my house is useless? Of course not. There's a whole raft of things that you'll still be able to get. The 700 Club, the Vast Brokers TV auction, he said as he smiled in the manner of a raccoon. And also Jimmy Swaggart and the big-time wrestling specials. I smacked him on the side of my head with a rolled-up, thick, wet towel from the Communications Club on Turk Street, where I had recently been involved in a wedding. It would have croaked a weaker man, but Cromwell was still laughing as he staggered down the driveway to his power wagon. Call me when you get smart, he yelled. I can get all the machinery you need from Bob Arum. November 4th, 1985.